hearing all the time about hundreds or thousands of people applying for a single job post on LinkedIn.
Only account for less than 20% of the English market. There's about 15 million jobs on LinkedIn.
We're joined by Lacey Kaelani, a creative leader with expertise in branding, digital storytelling, and impact-driven initiatives. She blends innovation with purpose, and we're excited to dive into her journey and insights.
It's a powerful job search engine analyzing over 600 million job opportunities across 120 countries in near real time.
We very much believe that data belongs to people because the only way to combat craze that we're in within our market is to use AI. Although we had raised just shy of $6 million, that wasn't enough capital to completely disrupt our business or industry, prove that we had product market fit.
For the financial management side of things. So audience out there who are listening in love to know about, what makes a business last long.
Final piece of advice is don't be embarrassed. I think you do a lot of things in your few steps as an entrepreneur that are cringy.
Hey everyone out there, this is Alan, CEO of FreeCashflow.io. Welcome to Profit Powerhouse, the podcast where we sit down with inspiring entrepreneurs to uncover the secrets behind their success. We're here to learn what drives their growth, the challenges they overcome, and how they master their finances. Our goal, to help you achieve the same success while maximizing your profit. Let's dive in. Today's guest is shaking up this job search industry at a global scale. Joining us is Lacey Kaelani, the dynamic CEO and co-founder of MetaIntro, a venture-backed startup at the cutting edge of AI and open source data processing. MetaIntro isn't just another job board, it is a powerful job search engine analyzing over 600 million job opportunities across 120 countries in near real time. With a growing user base of 1.8 million active seekers, MetaIntro delivers a seamless, chat-based experience that's matching talents to opportunities like never before. Lacey's vision is bold, her tech is blazing fast, and today we're diving into how she and her team are redefining the future of work, one thread at a time. Lacey, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. What an intro.
Yeah, you deserve every bit of it. Lacey, do you mind sharing with our audience out there a little bit? A little bit more about your background, what really inspired you to start your business?
Yeah, this is my second startup in the HR tech space. My last startup was a labor marketplace in the media and entertainment space, and prior to that, I was in recruitment. And at my last startup, I had the same CTO as I do now, and towards the end of the life cycle of that startup, we naturally looked at each other and said, well, we're not going back to work at a corporate company. What are we building next? And so stumbled upon building MetaIntro, and here we are today.
That is amazing. And I'm sure there's a lot of fun stories when you're building a startup. Can you share some of those the early stage ups and downs and struggles? Audience love hearing
there's a lot of ups and downs.
Oh, great. Yeah. Perfect.
I mean, it might sound generic, but every person in the startup world, and whether you're building in the tech space or SMB space, if you're building your own business, you go through the same ups and downs, which is, I think I have an idea. Oh, that sounds great. I'm going to build it. Oh, wait, nobody wants it. How do we build something that somebody wants? All the way to how do we get our first customer, and oh shit, somebody wants to pay. That's amazing. And so the ups and downs aren't unique necessarily to us, but very familiar to everybody at the same time.
Yeah, no, makes sense. What was the initial funding journey like for MetaIntro, and how did you attract, venture capital in such a competitive AI landscape that we're in right now?
Yeah, so when we originally went out to raise for MetaIntro, we raised on a different idea. We were in the Web3 space and wanted to solve for the verification issue within hiring. And we decided to build a wallet that held your on-chain credentials. So credentializing your education, your past employment, your skills, your references, your visas, etc., and putting it onto the blockchain and standardizing that concept within the application process, similar to how having a cover letter and a resume is standardized. That was really our view of the future. And still in hindsight, I believe that credentials will at some point come on chain in a mass significant way. It's just a matter of time. And so we originally raised on that idea. Turns out that was a really hard product to build. That's a really, really, really tall mountain to climb. And although we had raised just shy of $6 million, that wasn't enough capital to completely disrupt our business or industry and prove that we had product market fit. We just didn't have enough backing to be able to do that, even though 6 million sounds like a lot. So as we're putting our heads together, trying to figure out how do we build something that somebody wants, the conversation of ChatGPT had just become something you maybe saw once on Twitter. And my co-founder and I's thesis was always, how do we just help people find a job, period? And how can we do it better and faster? And
Sure.
one thing led to another, and now we're building what we're building, which is a job search engine that runs on public data. Like you said, we take public data, shape it, if you will, mold it, scrape through it to find about 600 million jobs that are listed on the internet across every country, every industry, every experience level, and validate it and put it into or serve it to our customers in a chat-based experience. So it's a very big operation. That's a very simplified version of what we do. But at the end of the day, we help people land a job.
Yeah, which is getting harder and harder out there these days, right?
It's very
I'm
hard.
hearing all the time about people complaining that there's hundreds or thousands of people applying for a single job post on LinkedIn and things like that.
Absolutely.
So to me, this is much needed. How should our audience think about MetaIntro? Is it kind of like a one-stop shop where they don't need to go to the LinkedIn, to the ZipRecruiters and Indeeds of the world anymore, because I'm assuming is scraping what they're looking at for jobs and putting it all in one place for them to kind of say, well, this is all I need to really have my job search, right? Go on. Is that a good way to think about it, or is it more of a complement to those products?
Yeah, absolutely. LinkedIn, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, Monster, like all of those sites that you were just mentioning, only account for less than 20% of the English market. So there's about 15 million jobs on LinkedIn, and there's like 900 million people on LinkedIn. So as you can imagine, the marketplace dynamics make sense when you think about, have you ever met anybody that's landed a job on LinkedIn? Aside from from a cold email.
Yeah, not from a cold email, but from
Yeah.
recruiters, LinkedIn,
Sure.
messages. Yeah.
But like cold applying,
yeah, it's very hard. I heard that's really hard to do.
Yeah. And so because we run on public data, we don't need the employers involved. Versus these marketplaces need both the employer and the job seeker, and they're dependent on the employer posting those roles so that they can service their job seekers. Versus us, if it's been posted on the internet, we have it. We very much believe that data belongs to the people, and this is a way of showing that. And so we have a much more expansive data set than all of those job boards combined.
That's incredible, right? That is such a stress-free thing for me to hear when I'm like, if I'm out there looking for a job, I'm like, man, there's so many different job boards. Which one should I be looking at? Should I be working with all 10 of them, right? Or should I can just go to one, which is MetaIntro, and just have it all in my fingertips?
Absolutely. And not every company, posts on a third-party job board like a LinkedIn or Indeed. Not every company uses an ATS to list their job. So think about all of the companies that you would either have to go on Google, and find their job board, set up notifications for it, and apply to, or again, not listed in an ATS system. So like free text, if you will, on their website. And it's a very, very broken space. And the only way to solve for it is to build what we've built, which is running on that public data and building the engine behind it to be able to find those roles and service those jobs to customers.
No, that makes a lot of sense, Lacey. And I know my next question may not be exactly in your wheelhouse, but it's a prevalent problem right now in HR. It's the fact that I'm hearing more and more of my colleagues, when they go apply for a job, instead of having a human being their first round of interviews, it's essentially an AI agent, right? Or a semblance of a recruiter interview, but with a bot, essentially, right? And it's becoming more and more prevalent with companies, and they're like, yeah, we're also trying to save on resources, and so we don't have to hire a person to interview every person. But then it feels a little bit, I don't know, disrespectful for the applicant who spent a lot of time, perfecting their resume, their cover letter, to be faced with that sort of interview process, where it seems to be like it seems like I saw a really funny TikTok where someone just tricked it by using every keywords in the ATS, and then they're like, okay, you passed, even though all he said was the keywords over and over again. Have you seen this kind of trend happening in your world, and what is your feedback or thoughts about it?
Yeah, so internally we call this the AI auto apply apocalypse. What's happening is that there's so many auto apply companies, venture backed companies, coming onto the market, helping people apply to jobs at scale and faster. So that means making sure the keywords match in the resume, maybe creating the resume completely from scratch, and applying to tons and tons of jobs without it might even being an actual match to that person's experience because the resume was adjusted, yada, yada, yada. And so on the opposite side, the only way to combat the volume, which, like you just said, recruiters are receiving 1,000 plus applicants per job just within a few hours. The only way to combat that is to use AI in the ATS that you're using as a recruiter. And what happens is the only way to bypass or land in the right pile, if you will, like, the interview pile, is to make sure that your resume matches the keywords, because the ATS is only looking for resumes that match the keywords, because it's not going to, it doesn't have context. Like the models can't imagine the way that a recruiter can imagine. And so it's like that Spider-Man meme, where you're like,
yeah,
where they're pointing at
each other. Yeah.
Yeah, because the only way to combat this AI craze that we're in within our market is to use AI. And so we think, again, internally, that we're going to see a massive, massive shift in the market. The market's going to break. I think the amount of AI products coming into the recruitment space, the job search space, has actually been destructive versus helpful, because it's not making the recruiter's job any easier. Like, at the end of the day, are they even looking at the right candidates? And so they're using AI in the ATS. They're using AI in the interview process. And it's like one thing if you're looking at, maybe, I want to say it was McDonald's that has their own AI, and then there was like a data breach. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure it was McDonald's, but I could be wrong. To do like service level entry, very, very entry level AI based interviews, where maybe it's more about just making sure they have the right certifications and proficiencies. Like, I could see using AI interviewer within that, and then obviously the store manager makes the final hiring decision, just to be able to speed up the process. But for higher level interviews, let's say for like an executive, or I don't know, even somebody out of college, like out of an MBA program, like, I agree with you. I don't think it's very appropriate. I think it's rude, because even though the job market might seem desperate right now, and desperate in the sense where you're applying to so many jobs, you're not getting interviews back, or responses back, you're very frustrated, what do you do? It's still very disrespectful. Like, how you treat your recruitment process as a company is reflective of your company and how you value your talent. So I think it's appropriate in some senses, but not appropriate in others.
Yeah, I love how you mentioned the Spider-Man meme, right? That's exactly how people feel out there right now, right? It's like you're just getting AI to talk to AI. It's like, hey, I'm buying a candidate AI to talk to a recruiter AI, essentially. Yeah. So Lacey, thank you for that insight. So how does MetaIntro's business model generate revenue? And is there any kind of primary monetization strategy you guys are using?
Great question. So our revenue comes through enterprise. We have a fantastic enterprise product where government workforce development programs, career centers, reintegration programs, etc., use our product, our consumer product, to track a specific cohort of users and have that data reported back to them. And for some reasons, that's to justify ROI, to justify or to have a better look into program success metrics, KPIs, etc. And so it's our consumer product with a beautiful data layer and dashboard on top of it. And so like 90% of our revenue comes from that. And the other 10% are ads. So in your thread on metaintro.com, when we recommend a job, we also recommend ways that we think would be tooling that would be appropriate for leveling up your resume. So for instance, if we see that you work as a security engineer and you're missing certain skills on your resume, we will suggest either different tooling, courses, etc., to introduce you to those products so that you can level up your resume. So 90% enterprise, 10% ads.
Makes sense. With over 1.8 million users and counting, what key metrics do you track to measure success on your platform?
Yeah, a few KPIs for us: daily users, return rate, time spent on the site, application volume. Those are like the top, and then beyond that, other like the use of ancillary features, so like saved jobs, interactions with recommendations, ads, etc. So, but really, like, if the product is working, if we're seeing an increase in applications, because that means what we're recommending is accurate.
Got it. No, that makes a lot of sense, Lacey. And with such a global platform, like, how do you manage kind of like the financial challenges of scaling globally? I'm sure there's a lot of financial and operational challenges going there, right? All the languages you have to deal with, different customs.
Yeah. So we're only in English right now, which is a problem. We're in over, we know that on the engineering team. So we're in over 120 countries. We're across every type of profession, every experience level. And the issue with that is that we have all different people from all different languages, all different backgrounds, all different business norms, because how you apply to a job in one country might not be the same as how you apply to a job in another, just in terms of like required documents, what's put on those documents, etc. And so it's not hard, but it's an operation to scale internationally, to be able to service. And the dream is that we're localized, both language, business, etc., to be able to service every single person in the exact way that they need. And so we do have a few languages that we're moving towards first, which we expect to be done by the end of this year. And that's just the start. So we'll see first, with the test of these few languages. I have all confidence in our engineering team to be able to service that. But to see, then the KPI is, do we see like a higher interaction with people using these languages? And, what's the standard for people that are, searching in those languages? Does that change the application volume? Does that change the time spent? We have a lot of question marks, but good question marks around that.
Yeah, a lot of room for expansion. I have a friend who's an expat in Japan, and he's struggling and frustrated with the job boards availability in Japan.
That's probably frustrating.
It's very limited space there, right? Especially for expats. So he's like, well, it'd be great if there was more of like a Google search engine for jobs that he can find in Japan. So I'll keep my eyes out there when you guys expand in that direction, right, into Asia later on. Cool. So, Lacey, I would love to know kind of like what are some of the biggest like cost centers for kind of a data intensive AI platform like MetaIntro?
It's very expensive if you don't have talented engineers. So it is very expensive to scale, period. But because we're processing such a significant amount of data constantly, so we process the 600 million once a month. But the thing is, when you digest that data still needs, and let's say it's a job at Coca-Cola, for instance, you have Coca-Cola's job board. you need to constantly be checking that that job within Coca-Cola is still listed, still with the same information, etc. And so and that is a very, very big lift. And that for us operationally, we do once every 12 hours, which is like near real time. The goal, I don't even know if it'd be possible to do that every hour, but who knows, maybe with the right funding one day, with the right, server farm, we'd be able to. But we've essentially like rebuilt, we've removed all dependency on cloud providers because that would be a very, very expensive cost. What we're doing would easily be like a $50,000 a month AWS cost. But how we're doing it, we're doing at like 1/20th the cost, without like revealing all how we do it. But we built it ourselves. And that's very much for like people that are listening, people that are thinking about how to build their business. Oftentimes you run into the problem of build versus buy. And sometimes if you have the right cash, the right talent on your team, building, and it's going to be an essential part of your infrastructure going forward, building is the best, even if it takes time and engineering hours and hours banging your head against the wall, getting something to work. It's definitely worth it in the long run.
Yeah, the ROI and the cost saving is astronomical from how you describe it, right? You'd be faced with like these mounting AWS bills every month otherwise.
That would be terrible. And you're dependent on a third party. And at some point in your business, you have to think like, who am I dependent on? Like to operate, to serve my customers. And that's a very scary thought. Like, what if somebody kicked you off your product and that was a very important piece to your architecture? And so owning, especially as you scale, especially if you're a venture-backed company, thinking, I'm going to be operating for the next 5 to 7 years until we sell or whatever the next milestone is, owning every single part of the product is very important, as much as you can, and as much as what's important to your business going forward. Because at some point, it's like, I could have spent that money building it myself. And we could have owned the whole thing. And that could have been a proprietary part of our product. So we had that conversation and we decided to build.
Yeah, and I'm sure you can go and see if you can get some R&D tax credit back, right? For all the time you put into it too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Lacey, how do you view marketing at your company? Do you draw upon a lot of social media, advertisement in that form? Or do you more depend on referrals, word of mouth? What is your strategy going into that?
Yeah, consumer, we've done a mix of everything. So we've done, every year we host, 7 to 12 job-related events, whether that's career fairs, talks, etc. Universities to like state-run career centers, like anywhere we can have a voice and opinion. That's a fantastic way to meet customers. We dabble in ads, of course. We have a very attractive ad campaign that goes, and that's a whole dance. Social, I don't think our social is that strong. We've put a lot of elbow grease into it, and it's just going on TikTok and having some.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you guys use TikTok?
Process. We tried in all transparency, but I don't know what your TikTok looks like, but mine is not filled with people telling me how to look for a job. And I think there's there's inspirational brands on TikTok, like Duolingo, Chipotle, those are
there's
fantastic
some really big brand that has gone viral.
Yeah. And at some point I'm like, do we bring in a mascot like Duolingo? Somebody that.
Oh, yes. I feel like you guys mentioned you have a mascot, don't you?
We do. His name is Marsh. But a mascot on the street, the same way Duolingo has one, that's going around and doing
actual
things.
person. Okay, got it.
Yeah. And in hindsight, I wish we pulled the trigger on that, because I think that could have given us a really good present.
It's never too late, right?
I know. And we're also not a consumer, we're not a physical good. And I think that physical goods do really well on TikTok. Where you can see the product, people can interact with the product, you can make fun of the product. You should follow Chipotle on Twitter. They're fantastic. Like whoever runs that account is like great. So we tried TikTok, failed, and at some point, like when you're trying different distribution channels, you just got to say yay or nay. Like let's move on to something else. So sadly, we said nay to that. We have a YouTube channel that has like a cute presence, but it's not like significant. We have a really big Discord channel where job seekers like pop in and ask us questions, look for jobs. And Twitter, we have like, again, a cute presence, but nothing significant. And Instagram, we just like shit post on Instagram. So if you ever want to like for instance, I think that's appropriate. Like there and YouTube Shorts, like we post a lot of satire memes about how awful the job search process is, like corporate satire, making fun of like wanting to quit, like the dark humor does really well for us. And so we've reached millions of people on Instagram and TikTok monthly, Instagram and YouTube, just making fun of hating your boss. So it works. You have to find your niche. But I think Instagram and YouTube have oddly been our most successful.
No, awesome. I mean, I would feel like that kind of dark job humor would translate very well to TikTok, because I've seen some like more like comical bits that you do, right? Like between two people who are pretending to be two people, right? That type of thing. It seems to get a lot of traction and people's attention, right? Especially if you keep it under a minute, it's what attention span these days.
Oh,
I don't know.
absolutely. You need, like,
Something worth like exploring.
I know. I would love to be able to revisit that, but you need a content team, and you need somebody that and hiring content creators is very difficult. Like I went through a few, and like hiring a comedian slash TikToker, somebody that like really that spends their time on the platform and gets it and make high quality content. It not only is it expensive, it's hard to find. And at some point I was like, I give up. I just give up. I need to move on with my life. So, but maybe one day we'll be back.
That reminds me of the latest TikTok trend I've seen, where like restaurants are getting approached by content creators to do content for them to like promote their business.
Yes.
But then they're like, the meme is like, it's too expensive to hire this person, so I'm just gonna stand out here with a sign, with like 10 seconds saying, please come to my business. Seems to be effective. I see people draw a lot of. You can just do that, right? It's like, it's too expensive to hire these content creators, so just me, Lacey, holding a sign. Give me a job, come to my job board,
I know, like you gotta be, and I see like a lot of founder-led TikToks, where you talk about the day in the life, and like, I mean, I've thought about like doing that too. Is like, do I, do that kind of thing? Like the Skims CEO just kind of stepped into doing that and is fantastic. But we also don't work in an office. Like I work from home, and so I feel like
a little bit harder. Yeah,
me feeding my baby and like the dog barking. Like it's not as like visually interesting.
Yeah.
I will not.
I do see Zoom style TikToks too. Where like they're just on a Zoom call,
true.
kind of like this. Yeah. Like it's like, hey, what are you doing? Turn on your camera. And they're like at a baseball game or something. And it's right.
So good.
Anyway, so Lacey, before we turn to the more serious topic of financial and tax management, we'd love to ask you a fun question, right, to lead our way in there. So this is a question I like to ask a lot of our guests, and we get all kind of answers here, so please feel free to use your freedom of speech to be as creative as possible here, okay? So one day, you notice a rocket ship landed in front of your door. You open the rocket, and inside is a treasure chest containing $1 billion. What will you spend that $1 billion on? You can spend it on 3 things. And the criteria is you have to spend it within 1 month, which means you can't just take the money, put it in a bank account, draw interest from it, and anything like that, right? The money goes away after 1 month. What would be the top 3 things you would do in that situation?
Is that terrible that putting it into a high yield savings account wasn't even...
Oh no, not at all. That's great, because like I had to put that criteria because I guess some more financial advisor type folks on here, they're like, number one thing, put it in these bonds. I'm like, okay, let's take this out. let's have exciting, creative answers here.
Exciting and creative. I'd buy some real estate.
Cool.
That would probably be the first. And some meaning maybe like I buy some like really great commercial buildings and do something that's like MetaIntro related in it. Like, I don't know, WeWork style, letting people come and use it for the job search process. I don't know,
Okay.
something crazy like
So like
that.
a giant
buying,
job fair building, let's call it
yeah,
that, right?
in the middle of Manhattan, I want like the best, real estate that
Yes, you definitely need $1 billion for that. I get it.
Yeah,
Yes, especially in
definitely.
New York
Like that
City.
might take up the whole thing. Yeah, that might
Yeah,
save
that
me
might.
like $100. So at the end of that, I'd go get a really good dinner. And last last thing I would do is probably put the pay off or I can't put it into a savings account, so just like prepay my children's
Oh,
education one day.
okay, okay. Yeah,
So
slip like
private school
Harvard
in
a
New
little
York City is
grant.
expensive.
Yeah.
Like slip somebody a grant. Yep. Give
Yeah,
them
yeah. It's like, hey, I'm gonna start this grant,
prepayment.
but can you save a portion of my daughter's scholarship?
Yes. Yeah. So I think the building, unfortunately, would take up quite a bit of that, but a good dinner and
Agree.
like something for my child would be
Yeah,
great.
no, you can put it on the dream board, right? On the wish list, saying, hey, if I did have $1 billion, this is what I would do for a MetaIntro, right? Buy that building. Awesome, awesome. Yeah, that was very creative. Thank you for that answer. So, Lacey, now we're gonna jump into more the financial management side of things. So, audience out there who are listening in love to know about what makes a business last long. What's the difference between a business that only films out in a few short years, and what the difference, in my opinion, is great financial management, right? The bookkeeping, the tax management side, the things that keep under control so that you as a founder and CEO can sleep better at night. So, we'd love to know, how do you approach that for MetaIntro? How do you approach managing the financial side of your business?
Yeah, financial management is very important to us. Again, as a venture-backed business, not only do I have a duty to our team, but to our shareholders to make sure that I'm managing cash in the most responsible and efficient way, which is my politically correct answer. I will say that internally, we are crazy about every dollar that comes in and every dollar that goes out. We have checks and balances within our company. We know where every single dollar is being spent. And when we splurge, and I say splurge loosely, like we're splurging on technology. We're getting what's appropriate and for the best rate. Let's say for the computers that we have in our house, and management for us is very, very important. It's kept our business very healthy and very lean for the past 3 years, and it's something that I'm very proud of, that I talk to our investors about all the time. Is just how we've been able to really make every dollar work for us. But that's oversight. I think while it's great to have like a bookkeeper, tax, finance person, like we have all of that, it's still at the end of the day the founder's job to know where every dollar is spent, and to make cutting costs before it's too late. So yeah, and that could be something as easy as like checking your bank account and the transactions at the end of the week, just doing a quick scroll, just to see, or setting alerts when there's a certain dollar spent that's over a certain amount. So it could be easy. Like you don't have to be like crazy about it, but you can make certain checks and balances in place, or certain approval processes in place to make sure that you're spending appropriately.
That's awesome. It's great that you're so hands-on on the whole process. Any kind of cool tax write-off or financial management tools that you picked up over the years that really play a part or have impact on your business?
We bank with we bank with a few different people, but we bank with Mercury, and they have some really great tools.
Yeah, I love Mercury.
Yeah, like I think Mercury's made it really easy for me to like just manage better. And I have no loyalty like to Mercury. I was with Rex before, but I'm just saying, like, out of all the tools that we use, like ironically, one of the banks that we bank with just does a really great job at giving us what we need in a very easy to interact with way, like through their app and through their site. So, and they have some like good tools and offerings like in their product suite.
Absolutely, yeah. We love it when a client comes to us and they say they use Mercury, because Mercury is one of the only companies we have noticed out there that has a like accountant bookkeeper role that you can latch onto, right?
Oh,
Just gives
really?
the
I
CPA
didn't know that.
firm access to it while not being able to
Nice.
like do any transactions, if you will. That's what owner will be afraid of, right? But then otherwise, a lot of other guys are like, oh, I have to download these reports for you every month, right? Or they have to plug into the accounting system, but that's a lot more work, and they have to link and unlink things, right? But Mercury makes it so easy for everyone to have visibility and what's going on and submit it. So always high recommender of their software and platform and their banking. And then what advice, Lacey, would you give to other business owners out there who are just starting out when it comes to managing their finance effectively? Is there like a certain threshold you recommend that they hire out to an outsourced accounting team or a CPA or bring someone on board? And is that like a revenue threshold in your mind? What other factors that determines when they should start doing
I think so. The way that we approached it is we
that?
had somebody on contract that would work like as needed. I don't think as a early stage startup founder you should have somebody on staff. I definitely think that's something that you should outsource. And depending on how complex your business is, maybe it's something bookkeeping that's done once a month. Once every 6 weeks. Again, it depends like on like what kind of business you're operating. But if you're not bringing in revenue day one, it's not a very complex business, I think like outsourcing and having that person come in accordingly is helpful in itself. And to be able to have those people give you reports back on like the health of what's going on, etc. I think that is a fantastic way to start your business. And sitting down with the people that you're outsourcing to, your bookkeeper, just to talk about milestones that you're thinking about, and making sure that's correlating to the cash in your bank.
No, absolutely. Right. Why add a headcount early on when you don't need to, right? And when you're just trying to get rid of maybe like 20 hours a week of work. But it's just something that you can kind of offload and don't have to think about so you can focus on the growth, right, of your
Yeah,
business.
absolutely. I mean, we have a fantastic, sorry, I'm also just coming off of a fold. We have a fantastic bookkeeper that has made us audit ready. Like we're going through an audit just because we're going through our Series A right now, which is such a headache. But because we're very, very organized and we've been organized from day one, it's made the audit process better. And our bookkeeper did a good job at helping us, and that bookkeeper is outsourced. And it just financially didn't make sense to have somebody on full time. And so outsourcing, find a good team you trust, find a team that has good communication, and somebody that you can afford too. So obviously early stage startup founders are price sensitive. So making sure that, all of those cards align with your business.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's great news that your first year audit is going so well. Most of the time, what I've seen from startups during their first year, it's chaotic in there, right? They're
Yeah.
like,
Well,
wait,
this is our
audit? We're
second.
not ready for an audit. Oh, okay,
I know.
that makes it
This
easier.
is
Yeah,
our
first year is
second.
always crazy.
But it's still crazy. Just the amount of documentation that you have to give, and it's outside
It's a
of
ton.
just financials. It's business as well. And me personally, I'm very, very organized. I save everything, and I don't just save it in my email inbox like most people. You let it just sit. It's in a folder, for whatever, if I might need it at some point, whatever. And staying organized as a founder is the best thing that you can do for yourself. Like how you stay organized in your life, whether that's through scheduling or I don't know. Some people aren't.
You are like you're like a tax accountant's dream, Lacey. Most of the time people come in and
Yeah.
they ask founder these questions. They're like, I think it's my inbox somewhere. I think it's somewhere here and there.
I got it.
I'll look for
I'm
it.
I know exactly.
Yeah.
I can airdrop it to you
You're like
right now.
the perfect
Yeah.
partner.
Yeah.
For them to
Thank
partner
you.
with. I'm sure they love working with you.
Yeah.
So Lacey, I think you touched upon a little bit, but what's kind of next for you and your business? Any exciting plans or projects you want to share with our audience out there in the next 12 months?
Yeah, exciting things that are happening in the business. We're always rolling out updates to our model and to our product, and so expecting continued growth and excitement about the pace, the responses, the accuracy within MetaIntro. Every interaction makes our product better. So, but better for you and better for the entire ecosystem. And so, yeah, head to metaintro.com if you're looking for a job or looking to have resume feedback or skill gap analysis. Like it's a kind of holistic view at your job search.
I mean, it's a all in one place where I can look, right? Instead of looking at 7, 8 different job boards, I just can come to one, right? Sounds like a perfect solution to me. Lacey, we're up to our final segment here, which we would call final advice. If you can give one piece of advice to someone just starting their entrepreneurial journey, what would it be? Maybe 3 simple steps, or 1 step, or 2 step, something that'll get them off the couch and motivated to be the next Lacey here.
Oh, that's nice. Uh, something to get them motivated. I'd say final piece of advice is don't be embarrassed to be embarrassed.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
I think you do a lot of things in your first few steps as an entrepreneur that like are cringy, and you do what you have to do to get your product off the ground. And I see a lot of people, friends, and I mean that have thought about starting businesses, and you really have to put yourself out there, both when you're recruiting, when you're finding your first customer, when you're figuring out how to build a product. It's a very vulnerable process, and you have to embrace it. Like it's a very beautiful journey, and if you're not going to start today, when are you going to start?
Oh, wow. Very deep question there. If you're not going
Yeah.
to start today, when are you going to start? That's deep.
Yeah.
That's deep. So and of course, don't be embarrassed to be embarrassed. That's fantastic. Lacey, it's fantastic having you on the show. We have got such an insight into what the future of an HR and job recruitment game is going to be, and I'm very excited about it. I don't say this for every guest here, but I truly think this is going to be invaluable to folks out there looking for a job today. It is a crazy, crazy world out there right now, and very chaotic, right, of looking for a job. So I'm hoping more of them can point them towards your way. Maybe you can restart the TikTok account and draw an even more
Yes,
of a bigger
I'll let
audience,
you know.
right? Because
I'll circle back.
I
I'll
see
let
a
you
lot
know.
of job seekers out there in TikTok. I tell you that. Like I see a ton who are looking for jobs. But yeah, we'd love to see the development of your platform. Maybe a year from now, if you're interested to come back on the show and give us an update, we would love to have you.
I'd love to be back. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Lacey, just any final shout out or things you want to mention to the audience here?
No, I think we covered it all. Again, just go to metaintro.com if you're looking for a job.
All right, I'll put that in the show note below. Make sure you check it out, especially if you're looking for a job out there. One-stop shop. Why not? Lacey, thank you so much for being on the show. Everyone there listening, we out.